A fat guy who needs a freight app to go out, yet got picked to go on stage while accompanying his girlfriend at a concert. He sang Hong Yen and stunned the internet. Inside a stadium on Blue Star, you are with your little star girlfriend, watching the Divas concert. Fang Yuan. It would be great if they picked you later. Watching you embarrass yourself before 10,000 people would keep me amused for a lifetime. I can't be that lucky. Right? There are over 10,000 people here. The odds are like winning the lottery. If I really get picked, I'll go up and sing one of my originals. You and originals? You'd be better off singing a recipe. Actually, back on Earth, you were also a somewhat famous original musician, proficient in all kinds of instruments and singing. 3 years since arriving here, you've never shown your musical talent, and just worked as a happy chef. Since the system came to you 3 years ago, your mind held an entire entertainment database. Singing techniques, arrangement, instruments, as if they were already ingrained in your bones. But in these few years, you've hardly used these skills. Rather than standing under the spotlight, you're more used to staying by the stove, cooking, running a shop, seeking peace and quiet. It's not that you haven't paid attention to the music scene these years. Today's Chinese songs, there are many hits, but very few that truly last. If you had to say what's worth it, the girl in front of you counts. You and Shen Youchu grew up together. Your relationship is stable. She was born with a voice suited for singing, and she truly loves the stage. Back in college, she signed with a company, released 2 albums relying on her looks and hard work, and gathered just over 1 million fans, making her somewhat famous. On stage, Liu Ruyan had just finished one of her signature songs. Shen Youchu looked at the stage, her eyes full of envy. This song, Love, is so beautiful. If only I could get a song of this level, maybe I could break into the A-list. Then just have the company get one for you. It's not that simple. These kinds of songs are rare to begin with. Finding one is all about luck. She sighed softly. This helpless sigh of hers actually sparked an idea in you. Songs of this level. Just a quick search in the system's library, and there's no shortage of works like this. At this moment, Liu Ruyan on stage was wrapping up. A diva is a diva, after all. Her singing and stage presence were flawless. As the song ended, the stadium immediately erupted in cheers. Glow sticks started waving everywhere, like a tide. Diva, I love you. Before the excitement died down, Liu Ruyan spoke with a smile. Thank you all for coming and supporting me tonight. Next is the final segment. I will randomly pick a lucky audience member to come on stage, to sing a duet with me, and you'll get my collector's album and a signed photo. As soon as she finished speaking, a spotlight began scanning the crowd. After scanning for a while, the beam of light stopped exactly on your head. You were stunned for a moment. Shen Youchu actually called it. She was even more excited than you, shaking your arm repeatedly. Fang Yuan. It's really you. Is my mouth blessed or something? You gave her a speechless look. You should probably talk less. The staff had already come to signal you. You stood up and walked toward the stage. After taking the microphone, you stood beside Liu Ruyan. She looked you over with a smile, and asked a few questions first. Handsome guy. Please introduce yourself first. What's your name? What do you do for a living? Fang Yuan. Do you have a girlfriend? She's sitting down there. As soon as the words left your mouth, Shen Youchu's lips immediately curled up in the audience, unable to hide her joy. Not just a girlfriend, but the kind who grew up together since childhood. You looked at Liu Ruyan. Divas these days love prying into people's private lives so much. This sentence made everyone on and off stage laugh. Is this a background check on stage? It's normal to ask more when seeing a handsome guy. What a pity. He's already taken. Liu Ruyan was also amused. Blinked her eyes. Fine, I won't ask any more. Then which song do you want to sing with me? You're not playing by the rules. Can I sing my own song? Liu Ruyan froze. Your own? A song you wrote? Yes. How about it? Is it good? Your tone is still very flat. It's okay. The audience exploded instantly. No way, an original on the spot. Isn't he a chef? A chef can write songs too. This guy is just here for the show effect, right? Shen Youchu was anxious below the stage. There are so many existing songs. Just pick one for a duet and be done with it. But you insist on an original. Your cooking skills, she respects. But as for writing songs, she's never seen you show it. Liu Ruyan couldn't help but warn him. Are you sure you want to sing an original? This is a crowd of 10,000. It'll be hard to recover if you mess up. You nodded, your tone steady. I won't. After saying that, you added. Give me a guitar. Liu Ruyan signaled the staff to bring the guitar. You took the guitar, looked down and tested the tuning twice. At the same time, a series of prompts flashed across the system interface in your mind. Work selected. Hong Yen. Performance status synchronization complete. On-site emotion can be converted into prestige points. You just glanced at it and ignored it. This system thing is enough for getting things done. As for entering the entertainment industry to be a star, it was never the path you wanted to take. You stood in the center of the stage, holding the guitar, spoke to the whole crowd. I dedicate Hong Yen to everyone. The lights dimmed accordingly. The noisy venue felt as if someone had pressed the mute button. You pressed the strings. Your fingers plucked lightly. A soothing melody flowed through the speakers. As the ancient style foundation unfolded, the audience, who were previously heckling, slowly quieted down. You sang the first line. Sword-boiled wine is tasteless. For whom do I drink a cup? You bid me farewell. The scent of rouge. With just this one line, half the venue went silent. Your voice was deep and clean. Your articulation was very steady. The mood was instantly established. This song is something else. It's pretty powerful. What kind of hidden master is this? A chef can sing like this? The quality of this original is too high. Shen Youchu below the stage was completely stunned. Her mouth slightly open. Her eyes wide open. Her gaze locked firmly on you on stage. Only one thought remained in her mind. This guy actually knows how to sing. And not just ordinary singing. He sings too well. Even the aura of standing on stage was ridiculously steady. These things, when on earth did he learn them? Once the concert ends, she must pull him aside and ask clearly. In the 3 years since the system came to you, you never intended to use it to enter the entertainment industry. Compared to standing in the spotlight, you still prefer staying by the stove, working in the shop, cooking for people, spending free time with Shen Youchu. This is more like the life you want. As for those songs and lyrics in the system, most of the time they were thrown in a corner, too lazy to even touch. I don't want the empty fame of this life, just to see you smile once. If there is a next life, I would rather be a beast of burden, just to accompany you to the end of the world. As the last word fell, the guitar sound stopped. You bowed slightly to the audience. Thank you. In this instant, the stadium felt like it was set on fire. Applause and cheers surged up together. Echoes from all directions. Liu Ruyan froze for 2 seconds before reacting. When she looked at you again, her gaze was completely different from before. She had been in the stage scene for so many years. Her ears were very discerning. The melody of Hong Yen was catchy. The lyrics were also memorable. Once it was released, the hype would definitely be unstoppable. More importantly, someone randomly picked to go on stage, standing in such a huge venue, actually weren't nervous at all. She picked up the microphone and pushed the atmosphere further. Everyone say, how was his singing? Sounds great. Keep singing. The cheers below grew louder and louder, almost blowing the roof off. Liu Ruyan turned to look at you. The more she looked, the more she felt something was off. The song was self-written. The singing skill wasn't bad either. The most absurd part was the stage presence, steady as a pro. Not like someone on a big stage for the first time at all. You sounded very calm, as long as you didn't ruin the live performance. Just as the words fell, a system prompt popped up in your mind. Prestige plus 3,821. Work popularity continuing to rise. You glanced at it and closed it. Popularity isn't a bad thing, of course, but it's too eye-catching. Not the life you wanted to live. Seeing the audience so excited, Liu Ruyan decided to go with the flow. They don't want to let you leave. Do you want to do another song? You waved your hand. Forget it. Today is your main event. If I keep singing, the vibe will change. At this point, you added another sentence. And this song isn't exactly easy. I'm actually a bit tired. She nodded after hearing this, and didn't persuade further, handing you the prepared signed album and poster. You have to at least take this. Collector's edition. Signed by me personally. She winked at you after saying it. You took the gift box and glanced at her. She is indeed beautiful, especially her eyes, very distinctive. But you didn't chat much. Took the things and left the stage. The audience who treated you as a stranger just now, their gaze had completely changed now. Some were clapping, some were filming you with phones, some bold girls even thrust flowers at you, with a small note tucked inside. You returned to your seat, and handed the bouquet to Shen Youchu. How about it? Wasn't I quite impressive just now? Shen Youchu gave a soft hum, without even reaching reaching out her hand. Flowers others gave you, keep them for yourself. I don't want them. You looked down, teasing her on purpose. It's fine if you don't want the flowers. Just help me deal with this note inside. She didn't fall for it at all. Her eyes were still fixed on you. Stop changing the subject. Since when did you know how to write songs? I already checked just now. I couldn't find Hong Yen online at all. You've actually been hiding this from me. This question, you had already expected her to ask. Of course, you couldn't mention the system. You could only make up a plausible excuse. Haven't you always wanted to sing good songs? In my spare time, I just tinkered with it a bit. Shen Youchu looked at you, clearly still suspicious. But no matter how much she thought about it, she couldn't find any other explanation. After all, in her impression, besides researching dishes all these years, you just stayed in the shop. Who would have thought you'd suddenly produce an original of this level? She was silent for a few seconds. Then she spoke directly. Then write one for me too. It has to be even better than Hong Yen. You smiled, and agreed readily. When I have some time. Only then was she a bit satisfied. But then she sighed again. It's just that this trip back was too rushed. I have to leave tomorrow morning. I haven't had your fish-flavored shredded pork yet. I'll make it for you next time I'm back. You looked at her, and added casually, I've tried a few new dishes lately. I'll let you try them all then. After returning home, Shen Youchu went into the bathroom to shower. You leaned on the sofa and scrolled through. Sure enough, clips from tonight's concert were flying all over the platforms. Riding on the heat of Liu Ruyan's concert, Hong Yen videos were trending. It trended. You scrolled through a few, not taking it too seriously. This kind of thing comes and goes quickly. Early the next morning, you accompanied Shen Youchu for breakfast, and then went to the airport together. She pulled her suitcase inside, looking back at you after a few steps, clearly reluctant to leave. You stood where you were, watching her pass security and board the plane. In your heart, you became more convinced of one thing. This celebrity life really isn't for you. It's more comfortable in the kitchen, researching menus and monitoring the heat. And after the rush, sitting in the shop watching customers come and go. This is the life you want. After returning from the airport, you went straight to Zhuoxianju. As soon as you entered, the manager, Chen Yan, came to greet you, saying they were doing customer follow-ups today, and suggested that you, the boss, show your face too. You agreed verbally, but your feet headed toward the kitchen first. Boss is boss, but you're still used to entering the kitchen first. Just as you pushed the door open, a young chef approached you, his face full of excitement. That person on stage last night was really you. Now short videos and are all about you. That song Hong Yen is too powerful. Everyone online is shouting for you to debut. While washing your hands, you casually replied to him, it's just writing a couple of songs. What's so surprising about it? If I really debut, I can't just be a singer. I'd have to get the title of an artist at least. The kitchen staff were stunned. You didn't bother to keep joking around, changed your coat, and went with Chen Yen to do the follow-ups. As soon as the door to the first private room opened, 3 young girls were sitting inside, with a phone propped up on the table. Clearly they were live streaming. Chen Yen started according to the procedure, asking if they had any feedback or suggestions regarding the food and service. But halfway through her sentence, one of the girls stared at you, her eyes lighting up instantly. It's you, right? You're the handsome guy who sang Hong Yen on Lu Tian's stage last night. She stood up abruptly and reached out her hand. Hello, I'm Huang Fei, I'm a streamer. You shook her hand with a neutral expression. You've got the wrong person, it's not me. Huang Fei had a, who are you kidding, expression. How is that possible? I was in the front row last night. I definitely didn't misidentify you. The other 2 girls immediately chimed in. Stop pretending. It's you. The videos online have gone viral. Huang Fei was even more direct, pulling you toward the phone camera. Everyone, look who I caught. The live stream exploded instantly. Holy cow, isn't this that legend from last night? He's the one who sang Hong Yen. He's even more handsome in person than in the video. Seeing the comments skyrocket, Huang Fei smiled even more happily, turning her head to look at you. There are tens of thousands of people in the room. Say hello to everyone. You felt a bit helpless, so you just waved at the camera. Hello everyone, my name is Fang Yuan, the chef and owner of Zhuoxianju. As soon as these words came out, the comments scrolled even faster. When will Hong Yen release? Boss, give us a clip. Sing Hong Yen. Huang Fei watched the number of viewers soar, her face beaming with joy. Boss, sing a song for everyone. You originally wanted to refuse, but the atmosphere had already reached this point, and there was no need to force a refusal. Moreover, The system popped up at this very moment. High attention scene detected. Suggested to release a work. Increase prestige value. You can only sigh after seeing this. This broken system is sometimes more pushy than the audience. Alright, you gave in, and changed your mind on the fly. But this time, I won't sing Hong Yen. Let's switch to a new one. One I wrote myself, called Our Time. Who has a guitar I can borrow? Huang Fei immediately handed over the guitar. You took it in your hands, plucked the strings a couple of times. The system interface in your mind lit up. Work, Our Time, locked. Singing state synchronization complete. Without another word, you strummed the strings. A clear and flowing melody drifted out of the private room. The sun overhead, burning with youth. It has never gone out, lighting the way as we move forward. Just as the first verse ended, the room fell silent. Not just the room, even the corridor outside gradually went quiet. At some point, Shen Yen had already pushed the door halfway open. Many people were standing outside the door. Some were peeking inside. Some simply stopped in their tracks. As Huang Fei listened, she stared at the live stream interface. She was thrilled to death. The number of viewers is still rising. Followers. The gifts never stopped. Once you finished the whole song, as the final note softly faded, the room finally came back to life, as if breathing again. Huang Fei looked at you. She was completely impressed. This song is completely different from Hong Yen, yet it's just as powerful. Your songwriting skill is just too exaggerated. You gave the guitar back to her, nodded toward the camera. Thank you. Everyone applause soon erupted in the room. The comments in the live stream were still refreshing wildly. Hong Yen and Zuoxianju, right? Got it. I must go visit. This song is getting to me. It brings back my student days. You bowed slightly to everyone. Then, the next second, the people around started cheering. One more song. Keep singing. You raised your hand to calm the crowd. You waited for everyone to quiet down before speaking. This song is called Our Time. In a few days, I'll go to the studio and record it along with Hong Yen. You can just listen to it online then. That's it for today. I won't continue. Saying this, you scanned the dishes on the table. Your tone was casual. You guys came here to eat, not to block the door and listen to songs. Food gets worse cold. You paused for a moment, and then casually added, food should be eaten while it's hot. And don't leave the person you love waiting. Everyone, go sit down. Hurry up and eat. After this incident, you can't expect to stay in the kitchen in peace anymore. Since you've already shown your face, you might as well finish the song sooner. To avoid being rushed online every day, you know someone who runs a studio, named Yu Xiaojiang. Yu Xiaomeng. Xiaomeng has plenty of money, yet he loves spending his time among music equipment. He has a chubby build, usually talks nonsense. You drove to the place. When you pushed the door open, he was curled up at the front desk sipping milk tea. Upon seeing it was you, he almost didn't react in time. Boss Fang, why are you here? You didn't beat around the bush and spoke directly. Borrow your studio to record a few songs. Yu Xiaojiang stopped sipping through the straw, stared at you for 2 seconds. Record songs? How come you? Can't a chef enter a studio? With one sentence from you, he was suddenly stunned. Quickly put down the milk tea. I didn't mean that. I just didn't expect you to actually know how to do this. I've been to your restaurant. I can't be joking with you. Hearing you say that, he stopped wasting time. He stood up and led you inside. No one is using it today. Go straight in. After entering the studio, you first scanned the room. The equipment isn't top of the line, but it's enough. Yu Xiaojiang wanted to ask which song to start with, but the system prompt in your head popped up first. Recording work. Hong Yen. Our Time. Recording assistance function activated. Current singing state optimizing. You didn't bother looking further, and decided right away. Let's start with Hong Yen. As the accompaniment began, you quickly found your rhythm. Everything was clean and precise. Yu Xiaojiang behind the monitor console stayed silent for a long time, as if he hadn't recovered yet. After a while, he tentatively asked you if you wanted to do another take. You took off one earphone. Your tone was flat. Let's listen to the playback first. Once the playback finished, you listened to it yourself, found no faults, and nodded directly. Yu Xiaojiang's eyes widened. That's it. It's done. Close enough. The second song, Our Time, didn't take long either. Main track and harmony re-recording progressed very smoothly. Not only was your singing stable, but you were overly familiar with the studio process. Where to re-sing, where to layer and where to cut. You knew it all perfectly. It didn't look like your first time here at all. After the 2 songs were finished, it was still early. You stood before the console and thought for a bit, and casually pulled out a new song from the system. Selected work, Moonlight. You looked up and said to Yu Xiaojiang, let's do one more. He was stunned upon hearing hearing this. There's more. Since I'm here, to avoid another trip next time. The third song progressed even faster. Halfway through the recording, you even casually changed some arrangement details, even how to layer the instrumentation, and the direction for post-production. You explained it all clearly. Towards the end, you simply sat down at the computer yourself, pulled up the project and adjusted it. Yu Xiaojiang just watched from the side, his expression becoming more and more absurd, until everything was recorded. He finally spoke as if he couldn't hold it in. What's the deal with you? You turned the chair to look at him. What do you mean, what's the deal? Aren't you a chef? How do you know about recording, arranging, and post-production? You casually tossed back a reply. I just study it on my own. Yu Xiaojiang obviously didn't believe this. His face was full of doubt. You call this studying? You're practically an all-rounder. Knowing a bit and being like you are completely different things. You smiled, and didn't explain further. You couldn't talk about the system. No one would believe it anyway. Besides, you were too lazy to waste words. Yu Xiaojiang stared at you for a long time. Finally, he only managed to say, then I can only assume you're a natural genius. What, natural genius? You stood up and stretched your shoulders. Your shoulders and back were a bit tight. The system can maximize your state, but the work that needs to be done won't be reduced by a bit. Seeing you get up, Yu Xiaojiang asked casually, now that these songs are done, are you planning to enter the entertainment industry? You shook your head directly. No such plan. The restaurant stays open. I'll release songs when I want to. Do it when I have time. Leave it for later when I don't. You paused, and casually added, being known as an independent musician isn't a bad idea. You really don't plan to enter the industry? Yu Xiaojiang was still persuading. I have some connections. It wouldn't be hard to set things up for you. With your current level, few singers in the industry could outshine you. You spoke very bluntly. We'll talk about it later. I'm not in the mood for this right now. The system can give you songs and singing skills, but it can't give you a peaceful life. Rather than being stared at every day, you'd rather stay in the kitchen of Zuixian restaurant. By the time you got home from the recording studio, it was almost 10 o'clock. First, you registered an account on, and uploaded the 3 songs recorded today. Red Face, Our Time, and an extra one recorded on a whim, Moonlight. After finishing this, you happened to log into, posted an update. Songs have been uploaded to, added an extra song, Moonlight. Songs uploaded. Search if you want to listen. Shortly after the message was sent, Shen Youchu came looking for you. She had clearly just seen the post on. Her tone was full of surprise. When did you come up with 2 more new songs? Followed by 2 shocked emojis. She quickly clicked to listen, listening to Our Time first, then playing Moonlight once. After listening to both, she replied, they both sound great. Fang Yuan, where is the song you promised me? Write it quickly. Don't stall. Also, I've already reposted that post for you. You leaned back on the sofa, glancing at the system panel. The prestige points were still slowly climbing, just enough to exchange for another song. You scrolled through the music library, and soon set your target on The Promise. Then you replied to her, stop rushing me, I'll send your song tomorrow. The reply was almost instantaneous. You've already written it. Pretty much. Go to sleep now. Don't stay up too late. If your dark circles get heavy, be careful. I might find you repulsive. You looked at the message. The corner of your mouth curled up. You dare to find me repulsive? I'll have old Xie deal with you. Soon another message popped up. Don't be so smug. Be careful. I might report you first. You smiled, and stopped chatting. On the other end, Shen Youchu had already reposted your post. Someone finally decided to release songs. Everyone, please show some support. But you still owe me a song. Keep pressing him. She already had quite a few fans. Comments quickly piled up. Isn't Red Face that divine song from Liu Ruyan's concert? The 2 new ones are also top tier. The bar is so high. I've already put it on repeat. It sounds so good. The bar is so high, so chefs need this much talent now. You glanced briefly at the comments section, didn't look further, and just tossed the phone aside. The next morning, after having breakfast, you opened and checked the data. The 3 songs were all growing quickly. Likes ranged from tens to hundreds of thousands. The momentum was quite good. At the top of the charts, still Liu Ruyan's Love, over 50 million likes, firmly holding the first place, leaving a huge gap behind. The title of Diva was indeed not earned for nothing. You kept reading. Then you spotted Shen Youchu's new song. Her Youthful Vibe, released at the start of the month, is ranked 10th. The song behind it is Chasing Closely. It could push her down at any moment. Just as you were thinking, your phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed Chen Yen. Please come to the shop quickly. Her voice sounded urgent, as if something had happened. You asked, What's the problem? It's not a problem. Someone is waiting for you. When I opened the shop this morning, the other person had already arrived. It seems they came specifically for you. Who? I didn't dare ask in detail. Anyway, they didn't look like an ordinary person. Please come quickly. You stood up to get your car keys, instructing as you walked. First, invite them to my office. Then brew a pot of tigunian. Use the jar in my cabinet. Got it. After driving to Zuixinlu, you parked and headed straight to the second floor. As soon as the office door opened, the figure inside made you pause. Long hair, red lips, bright features. It was none other than Liu Ruyan from the stage the day before yesterday. Hearing the noise, she looked up at you with a natural smile. Boss Fang, we meet again. You closed the door behind you. It's not really meeting again. It's only been 2 days. But for you to come here in person, it really caught me by surprise. Liu Ruyan leaned back in the chair, glanced around, then brought her gaze back to you. I didn't expect it either. That you were hiding so much, able to cook and write songs, and managing the shop so decently. Boss Fang, you are truly hard to read. You sat down opposite her, without beating around the bush. Heavenly Queen Liu, coming here today. Surely you didn't just come to praise me a bit, right? She nodded, and stated her purpose directly. I came to find you, because I want to sign you to Genesis Entertainment. Your expression didn't change. I'm not interested in debuting. Liu Ruyan seemed to have expected you to say that. Her tone became even steadier. Don't be so quick to refuse. As long as you agree, Genesis can give you a second-tier artist contract directly. The song copyrights will still belong to you. The company will handle distribution, promotion and subsequent operations. You leaned against the back of the chair and looked at her. Genesis is very powerful. She raised an eyebrow, and followed your lead. Your girlfriend is signed with Colorful Entertainment, right? But Colorful and Genesis are not on the same level at all. Genesis is one of the top 3 entertainment companies in the country. That should be enough weight, right? After speaking, she stood up and walked to the table. Leaning slightly, she looked at you. The distance closed instantly. Boss Fang, can you consider it seriously now? You leaned back, your tone remaining firm. I have no such plan. The circle is too noisy and troublesome. At this point, you paused and added, and a second-tier contract really isn't enough. Liu Ruyan was stunned for a moment. Then she started laughing. Second tier is too low. Then how about first tier? You didn't answer immediately. You just took the paper and pen from the table. At the same time, a system prompt popped up before your eyes. Invitation scene detected. Suggested to release a work. To increase bargaining power. You glanced at it, and chose, Peach Blossom Promise, from the music library. Then you lowered your head and began writing. The room fell silent. Only the rustling sound of the pen on paper remained. At first, Liu Ruyan was still teasing. But as you wrote line by line, the smile on her face slowly faded. She just stood by the side, watching the lyrics and score take shape bit by bit. The content was solid. It didn't seem improvised at all. A few minutes later, you stopped, and handed the paper to her. Take a look. Liu Ruyan took it. First, she saw the title at the top, Peach Blossom Promise. She scanned it from start to finish, becoming more serious as she read. Then she tried humming a few lines softly. Her expression changed instantly. Based on her experience, as long as this song is produced, it's almost a guaranteed hit, and the vocal style also suits her well. She looked up and stared at you, asking, did you just write this? Your tone was flat. Weren't you watching the whole time? She remained silent for a moment. Then she raised the terms. Then a top-tier contract. Signing fee of 3 million. Revenue split 30/70ths. You raised an eyebrow after hearing it. You can decide a top-tier contract. Do you happen to own Chuangshi? Liu Ruyan's smile deepened. Pretty much. Chuangshi is indeed a family business. Now a lot of things made sense. That she could hold the position of diva at her age was clearly not just because of her voice and face. You glanced at her and nodded. No wonder she's so confident. But my answer remains the same. I won't sign. Liu Ruyan truly frowned this time. Why? You didn't answer immediately. The system indeed gave you many conveniences. And always, when the hype rose, it urged you to move forward, urged you to release songs, urged you to stand at a higher place. But you didn't want to be led by the nose by that thing. Sing when you want to sing, write when you want to write. Instead of living life like completing tasks, running a restaurant is quite nice. Cook when you want to cook, release songs when you want to release them. If I sign with a company, there are too many trivialities. I find it annoying. Liu Ruyan looked at you. She didn't speak for a long while. She could tell that you weren't pretending, nor were you trying to drive up the price. You were truly not tempted at all. Anyone else hearing these terms would have nodded long ago, but you sat there with a calm expression. You are a truly strange person. She sighed. Her tone held a bit of helplessness. An opportunity so many people would beg for, and you don't even blink. You smiled. Maybe I just lack ambition. That's not lacking ambition. That's called ridiculous. She put the manuscript away, clearly not intending to continue discussing the contract. She simply changed the subject. Then how about this? Can I sing Peach Blossom Promise? You agreed quickly. This song was originally chosen for your vocal tone. After saying that, you added, but I won't sell the copyright. Just give me a fair split. Liu Ruyan thought for a moment, following the previous conversation. Then still 30/70ths. She paused intentionally, looking at you with a slight smile. You 7, me 3. You glanced at her. Fine, let's reverse it. You 3, me 7. But then you shook your head. No, I 3, you 7. You sing the song, and the production and distribution are all yours. I'm too lazy to deal with the troublesome parts. Liu Ruyan stared at you for a few seconds, as if confirming whether you were joking. Are you serious? Yes. Then I'm taking advantage of you. Your tone was very casual. Doesn't matter. You gave her the corporate account for Zui Xian Lu. Also, take 20% of the subsequent earnings, and donate it in the name of Zui Xian Lu. Liu Ruyan froze. 20%. Do you know if this song becomes a hit, how much money it will make later? You shook your head. Your tone remained calm. I don't know. I don't care about money that doesn't enter my pocket. This wasn't a deliberate act of generosity. You had always had this habit, taking a portion of the money earned to do something else, which made you feel better. Liu Ruyan took note of this. The way she looked at you was already different from when she first entered. Boss Fang, I think I understand why you can write a song like this. You didn't respond to that. Just then, Chen Yen brought in the tea. In the time that followed, you both briefly went over the details again. As she was leaving, Liu Ruyan stood at the door, looked back at you. If you ever change your mind, remember to contact me. Regarding Chuangshi, I'll always save a spot for you. You nodded. After she left, the office became quiet again. You sat back down at your desk, and started thinking about something else. It was time to give the song you promised Shen Youchu. Her vocal range is wide and her voice is clean. There were plenty of songs to choose from in the system's library. You filtered through them briefly, and quickly locked in Promise. Then you picked up your pen and started writing. Before long, the whole song was finished. You took a photo with your phone, and sent it directly to Shen Youchu. After sending it, you happened to click into the official blog of the Classical Poetry Association. When you made a bet with Shen Youchu the day before yesterday, you had submitted Ode to the Willow. You had ignored it since then. Even you were stunned. Ode to the Willow had 9,000 votes. Perched high at the second place, Warm Sun only had a bit over 6,000. What's happening? The comments section was even livelier. What's happening? People are discussing poetry. You also saw that someone had reposted the video of you singing at Zuaxian restaurant. They tagged you. Isn't this the chef who posts songs online? And now he's suddenly winning a poetry competition. So, a chef who can't write poetry isn't a good singer-songwriter. The quality of Ode to the Willow really doesn't seem like something an ordinary person could just write. You scrolled through a few comments and were about to exit, when a video call from Shen Youchu popped up. You answered it, and the screen lit up. Her face immediately appeared before you. Her eyes curved in a sweet smile, clearly in a great mood. Fang Yuan, I really love Promise. Thank you. Her voice was soft, and her excitement couldn't be hidden even through the screen. You leaned back in your chair, looking at her, and teased her on purpose. Are you moved? Do you feel like crying? She immediately wrinkled her nose. You're the one who wants to cry. You just love teasing me every day. You chuckled. This isn't bullying. It's clearly just lightening the mood. Humph, I'll tell Uncle Xie in a moment, and let him deal with you. You looked at her, deliberately slowing down your tone. Still calling him Uncle Xie. Sooner or later, we'll be one family. Shouldn't this title be changed? Shen Youchu's face instantly turned red. You haven't even given me a red envelope, yet you want to trick me into changing how I address him. I'll owe you one. That's still not okay. And so you chatted back and forth through the screen. First about the song, then to her recent schedule, then to the dishes at the restaurant, and the new menu you've been researching. As you talked, it became noon. In between, you actually remembered that Liu Ruyan had come looking for you. But then you thought, since you didn't agree to sign anyway, there was no real point in mentioning it. In the end, you just didn't bring it up. By evening, the Classical Poetry Association called you. They were very polite, formally inviting you to Kyoto for the annual poetry gathering. Without much hesitation, you accepted. On the day of the event, you arrived at the venue on time. Shortly after entering, you heard someone calling your name. You were a bit surprised. Logically, you shouldn't have any acquaintances in the Poetry Association. You looked back, and were momentarily stunned. Diva Liu. Not far away, Liu Ruyan was waving at you, looking as relaxed as if she were on her own turf. You walked over and asked her, "Why are you here too?" She smiled and replied, "I was waiting specifically for you." "Waiting for me?" "Yes." She nodded. "I know you wrote Ode to the Willow, and I know you took first place in the essay competition." You glanced at her. "You're not even part of the Poetry Association. Yet the news reached you quite fast." Liu Ruyan's tone was natural. "Because my mother is. And I come to this annual poetry gathering every year." After saying that, she naturally pulled you, leading you forward. "Stop standing there, come with me to meet someone." You are led by her toward the rostrum. A few elderly people are sitting in the front row. Each of them has a composed demeanor. They don't look like ordinary people. Liu Ruyan stops walking, looks at one of the elders and speaks with a smile. "Grandpa Ji, this is Fang Yuan, the author of Ode to the Willow." "Boss Fang, let me introduce you. This is President Ji Changrong of the Poetry Association." "Hello, Elder Ji." You step forward and greet him. The old man looks at you with a gentle expression, but there is scrutiny in his eyes. "Not simple to write lines like Ode to the Willow at such a young age." "You flatter me." You reply calmly, but in your heart you know, if this skill were traced back to its root, it wouldn't be considered something you honed yourself. But of course, this is not something to be said aloud. After a few pleasantries, Liu Ruyan leads you to the side. A middle-aged woman with a cold demeanor sits ahead, looking composed. She first glances at Liu Ruyan. Her words carry a hint of reprimand. "What's with that posture? Sit down first." Only then does she turn to look at you. Liu Ruyan adds from the side, "This is my mother, Zhao Qing, also the vice president of the association." You immediately nod and greet her. Zhao Qing acknowledges you and says only one thing: "The poem is well written." Then she says no more. Next, the event proceeds as usual. Awards, photos, and speeches, the whole set is completed. Finally, it's time for the interactive session. They are playing Fei Hua Ling. You were originally just sitting and watching. Unexpectedly, you are called upon once again, just like last time at the concert. Your luck is absurdly precise. The big screen flashes 3 times. Soon, the topic pops up: Border Fortress Lyrics. You look at those 3 words. Your gaze pauses. Border poems are easy, but border lyrics are not so easy to pick. Just as the thought passes, the system interface pops up. Theme, border, identified. Matching work, Pzhen Z, extract. You confirm immediately. The next moment, the content fully enters your mind. You look up and speak, not loudly, yet your voice commands the room. "In my drunkenness, I trimmed the lamp to gaze at my sword. In dreams, I return to the sound of horns in the camps. 800 li of roasted meat shared among my troops. 50 strings echo the sounds beyond the frontier. In the autumn, troops are reviewed on the sandy battlefield reciting only this far. The surroundings fall silent. People who were just casual a moment ago, now sit up a bit straighter." Liu Ruyan looks at you. There is a clear sense of shock in her eyes. Without pausing, you continue. "Horses like the legendary Dilu, flying fast. Bows like thunder, string startling. To finish the sovereign's affairs for the realm. To win fame both in life and after death. Pity the white hairs growing." As the last line falls, the room doesn't react immediately, as if everyone is still immersed in the power of the lyrics. After a few seconds, Ji Changrong is the first to react. He reaches out and grabs your wrist directly. "I've never seen this lyric. Did you just write it?" You think for a moment and give a plausible explanation. "I had some fragmented thoughts before and just completed them." After hearing this, Ji Changrong, the admiration in his eyes deepens. "Good, truly good, your talent is rare." You smile, and follow up with your words. "Please stop calling me Boss Fang every time. Just call me Xiao Fang. I am also friends with Liu Ruyan. Calling me that actually makes me uncomfortable." Ji Changrong doesn't respond to this. Clearly, his mind is still on the lyrics. This piece is written too perfectly. The momentum, structure, and scale are all there. It wouldn't be out of place in a textbook. You are momentarily stunned hearing this. Is it necessary to praise it as textbook worthy? The system is convenient, but every time you bring something out, the reactions of people around you still make you feel a bit uneasy. This poetry gathering was thus pushed to its climax by Pzhen Z. After the event ended, you were planning to leave directly. Shen Youchu is in Shanghai. You hadn't visited her lately. You thought of visiting. But Ji Changrong is in high spirits, and refuses to let you leave, insisting on taking you to dinner. You can't easily refuse to his face, so you have no choice but to go along. The door to the private room opened, and the first thing you saw was a young man, with sharp features and sophisticated dress, sitting beside Ji Changrong. He clearly wasn't an ordinary guest. Just as Liu Ruyan entered, the man immediately stood up to greet her, smiling naturally, but when his gaze shifted to you, his expression noticeably cooled. You saw through it instantly. This man was likely a junior of Ji Changrong. It wasn't hard to guess why he disliked you. He probably saw you as some kind of competitor. You felt speechless inside. To think it could come to this. Just as they sat down, Ji Changrong spoke with a smile. Your poem, Ode to the Willow, and that, Pa Zhen Zi, from the other day, both show great skill. Are you interested in joining the Poetry Association? You waved your hand and spoke bluntly. Grandpa Ji, I've really never thought about it. The restaurant is usually busy enough. I spend most of my time in the kitchen. I can't spare that much energy. Just as you finished speaking, the young man opposite interrupted. Running a restaurant while writing songs and poetry. Mr. Fang is indeed quite busy. He smiled, but his tone wasn't very friendly. However, there's one thing I'm curious about. I heard that in front of Liu Ruyan, you wrote a song in a few minutes, and today at the venue, you composed another poem on the spot. Do you really have such a talent? Why not show us again right now? As soon as he spoke, the atmosphere in the room changed. You glanced at him sideways, your tone remaining steady. Mr. G, this is the first time we've met today, but from the moment you walked in, you haven't been very friendly to me. I can more or less guess the reason. You paused and clarified, but you're overthinking it. Liu Ruyan and I are just ordinary friends. After you said this, Liu Ruyan's eyes flickered slightly, then returned to normal. The young man opposite didn't hold back, still looking unconvinced. You were originally too lazy to argue with him, but he was pushing it right in your face. There was no need to back down further. Moreover, the system popped up at this moment. Questioning scenario detected. Suggested work to deploy. Available work, Jian Mei. You glanced at it, and felt confident. If you want to see me right on the spot, fine. You leaned back in your chair, your tone indifferent. Whether it's lyrics or songs, it's not that hard for me. Since you insist on seeing it with your own eyes, then I'll write one right now. Everyone at the table looked at you. The young man frowned, clearly thinking you were being too arrogant. But you had already stood up, took 2 steps forward, and continued speaking. I can do more than just write on the spot. I can also change the style. For example, a graceful, romantic one, and compose a melody for it as well. Now, not only was he stunned, but even Ji Changrong gave you another look. You ignored the reactions in the room, just organizing the content provided by the system as you walked. After a few breaths, you stopped, and announced the title. This one is called Jian Mei. Then you calmly recited. Fragrant lotus withers, jade mat turns cold in autumn. Who sends a silk letter through the clouds? When the wild geese return, the moon fills the west tower. As the first half ended, the room fell completely silent. You continued reciting. Flowers drift away, waters flow on. One kind of longing, 2 places of idle sorrow. This feeling cannot be erased by any means. Just as the brow unfurls, it weighs upon the heart again. After the last line was spoken, the room became utterly silent. Then, suddenly, a loud slap. Ji Changrong slammed his palm on the table, and stood up abruptly. Great! Truly a great poem, and truly a masterpiece of the graceful style. The young man's face froze instantly. His lips moved, but he couldn't utter a complete sentence. Liu Ruyan looked at you, clearly stunned. The emotion in this poem was too direct and too deep. She almost immediately thought of Shen Youchu. After all, on the day of the concert, you had mentioned you had a girlfriend. You turned to the man with a calm expression. Mr. G, is this poem good enough for you now? He seemed not to have heard, repeating a few words in a low voice. Impossible. How is this possible? You couldn't be bothered to ask further. The lyrics had already been delivered. That's enough. But since you had spoken so definitively just now, you might as well finish it completely. You reached out and picked up the microphone on the table. Your tone remained indifferent. Now that the lyrics are here, I'll add the melody. This song is called Moonlit West Tower. After speaking, you began to sing. Fragrant lotus withers, jade mat feels the autumn chill. Gently loosening the silk robe, I board the orchid boat alone. As the singing began, the private room became even quieter than before. This song had a completely different vibe from Beauty, and it wasn't in the same style as Our Time. The emotion was more delicate, the flavor deeper. From the first note, it easily pulled people into one's own inner thoughts. Liu Ruyan listened entranced, her gaze never leaving you. Ji Changrong didn't interrupt again, just sitting there listening quietly. As for that Mr. Ji, his expression had become unbearably ugly. Once the song ended, you let the final note fade, and placed the microphone back on the table. For a moment, no one in the room spoke. You had no interest in staying any longer. This meal had lost all meaning by now. Moreover, after singing this song, your mind was filled with thoughts of Shen Youchu. She was in Modu, likely still busy with work at this hour. You wondered if she had been eating on time lately. Without lingering, you turned and walked toward the door. It seemed someone called out to you from behind, but you didn't look back. It was time to go to Modu to see her. Just after leaving the restaurant, before you reached the roadside, the sound of high heels echoed behind you. Liu Ruyan caught up. You're leaving too quickly, without even a word of goodbye. The dinner party just ends like that. You stopped and turned around, your tone flat. There's no need to stay. That Ji Boda treated me as an imaginary enemy from start to finish. Staying inside would only add to the frustration. As soon as the words left your mouth, her expression paused, and the tips of her ears turned red, as if you had exposed something. She cleared her throat before continuing. I'm heading back to the hotel and flying to Moda tomorrow morning. You replied casually. Coincidentally, I'm also planning to go to Modu, to visit Youchu while I'm at it. She looked up at you. Then let's go together. The poetry gathering venue was not far from the hotel. The two of them walked back slowly. It didn't take much time. After arriving, Liu Ruyan returned to her room. You also entered your room and sat down. You casually opened the music app. At the top was Liu Ruyan /S, Peach Blossom Promise, with data surging fast. Downloads had already topped 20 million. Comments hit tens of thousands and its popularity dwarfed the rest. You scrolled down casually. The more you looked, the more your brow furrowed. Based on the schedule, her new album this month should have continued releasing songs. But on the platform, besides Peach Blossom Promise, not a single other song was visible. Scanning further down, the song Promise you wrote for Shen Youchu was also missing. The system panel flickered before your eyes. Anomaly detected. Suggest paying attention to the current situation of related characters. You couldn't be bothered with it. Continued scrolling down. Before long, a post caught your eye. National Goddess Shen Youchu, suspected of being cold-treated by Binkai Entertainment. You stared at that line of text, and your expression immediately darkened. The next morning, you and Liu Ruyan took the same flight back to Modu. After landing, the two didn't travel together anymore. She went back to the company. You drove straight to Shen Youchu's place. As the door opened, a figure by the balcony first caught your eye. She sat there holding a guitar, looking down, strumming the strings. Sunlight fell on her shoulders, quiet as a painting. You leaned against the doorframe and watched for a few seconds. The great beauty Shen is secretly practicing here alone. Her eyes lit up the moment she looked up. Fang Yuan. Before the words finished, she was already running toward you, throwing herself into your arms, hugging you tightly. Why did you suddenly come? You looked down, ruffled her hair, and spoke casually. Went to Kyoto to handle some business. On my way back, I decided to drop by and see you. She looked up at you with a smile on her lips. I know. I saw the video of you at the Poetry Society. It's all over the internet. You're quite photogenic. Of course. You looked down and kissed her on the cheek. Then you changed the subject. Tell me, what's going on with the album? As soon as you said this, the smile on her face vanished. She slowly let go of you, turned and walked over to sit on the sofa. Her lips were slightly downturned, clearly feeling wronged. Seeing her reaction, you basically understood the situation. She's really being suppressed. You walked over and sat beside her. Your tone softened a bit. If you don't want to stay there anymore, just come back. At worst, help me grow the shop. We'll still get by. She kept her head down, her voice muffled. But I still want to sing. You turned to look at her. Your expression became serious. What exactly happened? Everything was fine before. How did it suddenly become like this? And where is your manager? It was fine until you mentioned this. Shen Youchu became visibly angrier. She bit her lip and cursed out loud. Don't mention her. That old woman is absolute trash. To suck up to Jiang Wan. She actually wanted to send me out to be a hostess. Your gaze instantly turned cold. A hostess? You looked at her. Your tone had deepened. Who is Jiang Wan? She took a breath. Suppressing her emotions, she finished speaking. Signed with Binkai Entertainment in the same batch as me. Before, she was inferior to me in both fame and skill. But lately, the company has poured all its resources into her. I heard she hooked up with someone higher up, so now everyone favors her. With things explained this far, the situation was already clear. The company took sides, the manager defected. Then using such dirty methods to force someone to submit. Dirty tricks in this industry. It's not that you hadn't thought of them. You just didn't expect it to actually happen to her. You didn't rush to speak. First, you went through it in your mind. Shen Youchu had her own foundation. She had fans and popularity. If she really breaks ties completely, she might not necessarily fail without the company. Moreover, the one thing you have plenty of is songs. While thinking, your phone suddenly rang. The name that popped up on the screen was Liu Ruyan. After you answered, she got straight to the point. Fang Yuan, are you free tomorrow? I have something I want to ask your help with. What help? Requesting songs. She spoke quickly, clearly in a rush. Huayang specifically asked for 2 promotional songs. Our company's composition department submitted many proposals. All of them were rejected. Huayang wants songs their requirements will only be high, not low. But after hearing this, your first reaction wasn't that it was difficult, but another thought. If you use the Genesis connection to extract Shen Youchu from Binkai Entertainment, it would save a lot of effort. You leaned back on the sofa and asked her directly. You want me to go to your company? I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. Send me the location. After the call ended, you sent the location to her. Just as you put away your phone, you noticed Shen Youchu staring at you. Genesis. She blinked, her expression somewhat surprised. When did you get connected with Genesis? You didn't plan to hide it from her either, so you just explained the previous events simply. Last time singing in the shop. After the video spread, Liu Ruyan came to find me the next day. She wanted to sign me to Chuangshi. Shen Youchu suddenly sat up straight. What kind of contract did she offer you? Starting as a second-tier artist. You paused and added. Later, I happened to write a song for her. She raised it to first tier, but I didn't agree. Her eyes widened after hearing this. You wouldn't even sign for a first-tier spot at Chuangshi. You looked at her with a very calm expression. Is first tier that rare? She glanced at you, but the corner of her mouth couldn't help but twitch. This person really doesn't hold back when speaking. Early the next morning, you and Shen Youchu went downstairs together. A black business car was parked downstairs. Liu Ruyan was already waiting by the car, but when she saw you coming out side by side, her expression clearly froze for a moment. Her gaze first fell on Shen Youchu's face, then turned back to you. This is Shen Youchu. You nodded with a natural tone. My girlfriend. After saying that, as if remembering something, you added. Or you could say, my fiancé. Liu Ruyan was completely stunned, unable to speak for several seconds. Your girlfriend is her. After getting in the car, she kept glancing at you from time to time, as if she couldn't digest this news quickly. After a while, she still couldn't help herself. How did you two get together? Shen Youchu was a bit shy, her voice softening. We've known each other since childhood sweethearts. Liu Ruyan leaned back in the seat, sighed with a mix of truth and irony. Your luck is really not bad. You didn't pick up that thread. You could see her slight emotional changes, but there wasn't much more to say about such things. The person in your heart has been only one from beginning to end. More than an hour later, the car drove into the headquarters of Chuangshi Media. Liu Ruyan led you upstairs, straight to the chairman's office. After a few pleasantries, Chen Wu didn't beat around the bush, and pushed a file directly in front of you. Time is limited, so I'll be blunt. You flipped it open and scanned. The content was clear. It was a request from Huayang. 2 show promo songs. The other was Youth China Chronicles. The youth theme had to be powerful. After you finished reading, you closed the file and placed it on the desk. Liu Ruyan stood beside you, staring at you. They kept staring, clearly putting all her hopes on you. You looked up and asked, "Do you have paper and a pen?" Upon hearing this, several people in the office were stunned. He already has ideas right after reading. Yes. Liu Ruyan reacted the fastest, and immediately handed over the paper and pen. You took them and lowered your head, no longer speaking. The system interface appeared simultaneously. Scene recognition complete. Keywords: blue and white porcelain, youth, China. Recommended works: Blue and White Porcelain, Ode to Youth China. You scanned and confirmed immediately. The next moment, the complete frameworks of 2 songs fell into your mind. You picked up the pen and started writing. The office then became quiet. Only the rustling sound of the pen on paper remained. About half an hour later, you stopped your hand, and handed over the 2 pages. Liu Ruyan took them in her hand. Just by glancing at the song titles, her breathing hitched. Blue and White Porcelain, Ode to Youth China. She flipped to the first song first. Her expression became more and more serious. When she saw the second one, the shock in her eyes could no longer be suppressed. Fang Yuan, you're really not human. She looked up at you. It took a while before she could say the next sentence. You wrote both songs in such a short time. You leaned back in the chair, your tone still flat. Something like that. For you, the hard part was never the writing. It was just copying existing things. Shen Youchu stood aside, looking on in a daze. Knowing you for so long, this was her first time seeing you write songs from such a close distance. And you wrote 2 of them in one go. Chen Wu took the manuscript, and read through it carefully from start to finish. His expression changed. The completion level is very high. As long as there are no mistakes in production later, there's a high probability Huayan will approve it. Liu Ruyan snapped back to her senses, and couldn't help asking you again. You're great at cooking. Poetry comes to you effortlessly. And now you can write songs just like that. Is there anything you can't do? You glanced at her and replied casually, I can't give birth. The air went silent for 2 seconds. Then Liu Ruyan and Shen Youchu blushed almost simultaneously. Even Chen Wu coughed, pretending not to hear and steering the conversation back. Mr. Fang, have you really never thought about debuting? With your voice and songwriting ability, staying behind the scenes is too much of a waste. Liu Ruyan also urged. It's a pity not to be in the spotlight with your talents. Shen Youchu didn't interrupt, just watched you quietly. She knew better than anyone that you've never wanted to be tied down by this industry. You shook your head and spoke very directly. President Chen, Diva Liu, my attitude hasn't changed. I don't want to debut. This circle is too troublesome and annoying. I can't be bothered to be tied down. Chen Wu looked at you and remained silent for a while. Then he changed his approach. How about this then? A collaboration without a restrictive contract. The copyright of your works remains with you. The company is only responsible for production, distribution, and resource operation, without controlling you forcibly. He paused here, before bringing up the real point. Additionally, regarding Shen Youchu's contract issue with Bin Kai, I can resolve it for you. Your eyes flickered slightly. This was the part that actually hit the mark. Whether you sign or not doesn't matter at all. But Shen Youchu is different. She truly loves singing, and truly wants to continue standing on stage. You didn't nod in a hurry, just looking at Chen Wu. What conditions? You should understand that nothing comes for free. Chen Wu nodded and answered very straightforwardly. Of course, we will pay Shen Youchu's termination fee. She signs a 3-year contract with Chuangshi for these 3 years. You are responsible for providing her with songs, to push her to the position of a diva. At the same time, you provide Chuangshi with 15 works per year, to be distributed to the company's artists, and participate in some large-scale projects as a collaborator. Resources will also be open to you later. The office suddenly went quiet. You looked down at Shen Youchu beside you. She was holding your hand, her eyes filled with nervousness and rising expectations. The system panel lit up slightly. Critical choice triggered. Current suggestion: establish a stable distribution channel. Associated target: Shen Youchu. You didn't deal with the system immediately, because the answer had already been decided. You didn't want to enter the industry, didn't want to be managed, didn't want to be pushed along, but you didn't want to see her being stepped on and suppressed, and eventually forced to give up the thing she loves. You looked up and replied, I can do that. I'll take this collaboration. Chen Wu's eyes lit up. But you didn't stop and continued to clarify your own conditions. But let's get this straight first. This is a collaboration, not selling my soul. I won't work fixed hours or take random gigs. I won't cooperate in creating a persona or participate in unnecessary promotion. I'll provide the songs and do what needs to be done. Other than that, don't bother me with trivialities. Chen Wu actually smiled after hearing this. No problem. I can agree to all of that. Things progressed quickly after that. The legal team drafted the agreement. You read it through from start to finish, confirming there were no traps in the clauses, and signed it directly. As for Shen Youchu, Chuangshi's legal team took over on the spot, preparing to handle the contract termination. Once everything was settled, you didn't delay any further, and headed straight to Bin Kai Entertainment with the legal team. After arriving, the group went straight upstairs, heading straight for the general manager's office. Without even knocking, you pushed the door open. The meaning was very clear. Today wasn't for pleasantries. It was to solve the problem. There were quite a few people sitting in the room. Shen Youchu's manager, Yang Yu, was also there. As soon as you entered, her expression changed first. Youchu, what is the meaning of this? You've lost even the most basic manners. You don't even know how to knock before entering. Shen Youchu didn't even look at her. She only glanced at you. You took a step forward. Your tone was calm and flat. This is my legal team. We're here for one thing today. Shen Youchu's contract termination. Just as you finished speaking, a sarcastic voice sounded from the side. Oh, you brought lawyers. As far as I know, aren't you just a cook? Opened a restaurant. At the end of the day, you're still just a chef. You looked sideways. The speaker was an exquisitely dressed woman, standing to the side with her arms crossed. Her eyes and tone were full of contempt. You asked directly, "Who are you?" Her face froze instantly, and she was about to lash out. Liu Ruyan calmly stepped in. Jiang Wan is a singer who debuted at the same time as Yuchu. She paused, showing no mercy in her tone. She mainly sings bubblegum pop. As soon as these words came out, Jiang Wan's expression immediately soured. Yang Yu also wanted to speak, but after they recognized Liu Ruyan, their expressions changed. No one expected someone from Chuangshi to come in person, even less that it would be Liu Ruyan. She couldn't be bothered to waste words on these two. She walked straight to the desk and looked at Liang Chao. You are Liang Chao, the general manager of Bin Kai Entertainment. Those behind me are Chuangshi's legal team. Now, let's discuss Shen Youchu's contract termination. Liang Chao clearly didn't expect this level of display. It had only been a few days since Shen Youchu was sidelined. To think Chuangshi had already been brought in, and with such a strong stance, he suppressed his emotions and spoke. Miss Lin, are you sure you want to terminate the contract? According to the contract, the penalty is 10 million. You don't need to worry about that. Liu Ruyan's tone was flat but steady. Chuangshi will pay the penalty. Liang Chao was stunned on the spot. 10 million is not a small amount, but Chuangshi accepted it without blinking. Beside them, Jiang Wan's expression grew worse. She thought Shen Youchu was basically finished once she was frozen. But if she actually joined Chuangshi, all future resources, production, and promotion would change. By then, they wouldn't even be in the same league. Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth and sneered. Shen Youchu, why should Chuangshi spend so much on you? You didn't use some shady methods, did you? After these words fell, the temperature in the office seemed to drop a few degrees. You turned to look at her, your gaze darkening completely. Jiang Wan, find some decency before you speak. You took half a step forward. Your voice wasn't loud, but it silenced everyone. If you're truly capable, stop playing these low-class games. You've stolen resources. You've blocked her path. The songs Yuchu should have had, and the positions she should have held were all intercepted by you. I will settle all these accounts slowly. At this point, you looked at her, throwing each word down with force. Starting today, you will never outrank her on the charts. My word. Everyone in the office looked at you. Some were stunned. Some thought you were ridiculously arrogant. Yang Yu was the first to sneer. Anyone can talk big. You released a few songs on the platform, got some hype, and now you really think you're a superstar. You didn't even bother to respond to her. Just a faint glance. Not a single extra word. Looking at such a person for one more second is a waste. You turned back to Shen Youchu's side. You took her hand. Then you looked back at Liang Chao. Mr. Liang, regarding the termination, discuss it with the lawyers. Having said that, you led Shen Youchu and walked straight out. Early the next morning, you took Shen Youchu into Chuangshi. The April charts weren't settled yet. Since Jiang Wan wanted to climb up by stepping on her, this debt must be repaid within the month. After entering the office, you closed the door behind you. You spread paper and pen on the desk. The system prompt popped up. Current target, Shen Youchu. Recommended work, Xiao Xiao. Vocal matching complete. Without delay, you began to write. After a short while, the entire song was finished. Shen Youchu took it. She read it from start to finish, and hummed a few lines of the melody softly. When she looked up again, her eyes were shining. This one is about people who grew up together, right? There's a promise. With this song added, April's charts should be covered. You leaned back in the chair and looked at her, your tone flat. Just to use to pressure others. Just as the words were spoken, a knock came from outside. Liu Ruyan pushed the door open and entered, holding a set of program materials. A variety show has come looking for us, called Original Singer-Songwriter. She placed the documents in front of you, getting straight to the point. Do you want to go? You flipped through a few pages, your brow unmoved. Shouldn't this kind of show prioritize those in the company who specialize in originals? It's not like Chuangshi has no one. Liu Ruyan shook her head and spoke bluntly. There are some, but none are as suitable as you. This show is about live composition and performance. If you can't compete, you just can't. You didn't express your stance immediately. This kind of public-facing work, you weren't interested in it to begin with. The system, however, wanted you to step forward. But from start to finish, you've never liked being the center of attention. Seeing you wouldn't budge, Liu Ruyan stopped persuading you. She turned her attention to Shen Youchu. Shen Youchu understood instantly. She didn't ask about the show's popularity or the mentor lineup. First, she asked how much the champion's prize money was. Liu Ruyan was stunned. People usually aim for exposure and resources in this show. Who calculates the prize money first? She paused before answering. It seems to be 1 million. 1 million. You slammed the documents down. Then what's there to consider? I'll take it. I'm definitely taking this money. After saying that, you glanced at Shen Youchu, and added casually, just in time to add more to the future bridal gift. Her face instantly turned red. She raised her hand and slapped your arm. Who wants you to save for that? Standing aside, Liu Ruyan's expression was a bit complex. Others fight for shows for the fame. But your mind is full of prize money. I'll go reply to the production team. By the time she finished, you had already stood up. Put the show on the schedule first. I have other things to do today. Going to the studio to record songs first. You took Shen Youchu straight to the recording studio. You recorded Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. She recorded Xiao Xiao. With the system's assistance, the progress was much faster than normal. Recording and adding harmonies required almost no retakes. Both songs were finished smoothly. When coming out of the studio, it was still early. A few days passed. You boarded a flight to Hangzhou. The recording location for original singer-songwriter was there. Upon arrival, many people were already in the backstage area. Lighting positions, camera angles, the audience seating was also set up. After the host read the judges list, the production team quickly started drawing lots to determine the performance order. Zhao Tongyue drew number 1. You remembered her. Had seen her before at Ji Changrong's dinner party. Also a relative on Liu Ruyan's side. People in the industry have been calling her the little queen of songwriting. When it was your turn, your luck wasn't great, nor was it bad. You drew number 8. Finally, once the order was set, Zhao Tongyue went up first. Her song followed a lyrical route. The level of completion was high. The melody was stable and her stage presence was polished. Plus, she already had stage experience. After the first song finished, the live feedback was good. The scores from the judges were also not low. Applause was constant from the audience. The live stream comments were also lively. Zhao Tongyue's stage is really stable. Like she's aiming for first place. Her stage presence is too strong. She really has something. Still want to see what song boss Fang brings up today. You sat backstage feeling a bit bored. Almost dozed off leaning against the back of the chair. Until the host finally called your name. Fang Yuan. Next up, Fang Yuan, bringing the original work, Moonlight. You picked up the microphone, stood up and walked toward the stage. The moment the lights dimmed, your steps paused slightly, not because of nervousness, just that once a large stage is set, the system is usually more excited than you. Sure enough, the prompt immediately popped up. Stage environment confirmed. Current work, Moonlight. Singing state synchronization complete. Live heat can be converted into prestige points. You glanced at it and closed it immediately. After walking to the center of the stage, the lights and cameras, and the judges' gaze all fell on you. On the other side, Shen Youchu was watching the live stream. Seeing you stand still, she unconsciously sat up straight. The intro began. The prelude began. You also sank into it. Moonlight hue, feminine fragrance. Tears break the sword. How long is the love? How much does it hurt? Wordless thoughts. Forgot you. Lonely soul. Drifting with the wind. Who laughs at the infatuated lover? The battlefield of this mortal world. Among thousands of troops, who can be king? As the first verse ended, the expressions on the judges' panel had already changed. As the melody unfolded, the ancient style was immediately apparent. Then the emotion gradually built up. The breathing, riffs, and landing points were all perfectly timed. Passing through the trial of love. Who dares to venture? Gazing at the bright moon. The heart is desolate. Eternal regrets. Tasting reincarnation. Closing the eyes. Who is the wildest? As the chorus hit, the whole venue seemed to be swept away by the song. One of the female judges even stood up on the spot, staring at you, her eyes full of surprise. In the backstage resting area, Zhao Tongyue looked at the screen, and slowly lost her previously relaxed expression. This person really isn't just here to fill a spot. Shen Youchu in front of the TV was even more direct, covering her mouth as she watched you finish the section. Her eyes wide open. She knew your singing was stable, but standing in the center of the stage from start to finish like this, and delivering a song with this effect, was the first time she had seen it in full. The live stream Donmu is going crazy. Chef is out. Chef is out. Can a human learn that sound? Chef is out. Chef is out. I tried to follow along for 2 lines. Chef is out. Chef is out. I almost twisted myself to death. Chef is out. Chef is out. Are chefs this competitive now? Chef is out. The song ended. You bowed slightly to the audience. Thank you. Before the host could respond, the female judge who had stood up spoke first. Fang Yuan, you just signed with Creation not long ago, right? You glanced at the name on her desk. Han Yu. You're a rookie. She nodded, the amazement in her eyes still not faded. I just tried to follow the melody. Those riffs were really hard to handle. I originally thought Zhao Tongyue was strong enough for this episode. Now I see you're not inferior to her at all. After speaking, she didn't forget to turn and add. Keep it up, Zhao Tongyue. I'm still rooting for both of you. You nodded to her. Thank you, Teacher Han. Then the host, Xiao Bo, walked up with a smile, taking over the scene. It seems Teacher Han really admires Fang Yuan. You almost stole the show's flow. The audience laughed. He then passed the word to the other judges. To the other teachers. How do you evaluate this song, Moonlight? Lu Jincheng, sitting in the middle, picked up the microphone first. The melody is memorable. The lyrics are smooth. More importantly, the execution is high. It's not easy to sing ancient style like this. You glanced at his name and muttered. Thank you, Teacher Lu. To be honest, you usually don't study people in the industry much. Today, you mostly recognize them by their nameplates. The remaining judges also gave good reviews. No one intentionally nitpicked. After the review, the program moved forward, starting to draw the creative theme for the next episode. The 5 judges each drew a card. Soon the big screen summarized the themes: loneliness and confusion, pursuit of dreams, conflict and struggle, growth, and longing for hometown. You looked up at those 5 themes and remained silent for 2 seconds. This is called a simple prompt. Zhao Tongyue's expression next to you was also a bit numb. The other contestants had even more complex expressions, clearly feeling that these prompts were inhuman. The host took the opportunity to throw the question to the judges. Teachers, how is the difficulty of this prompt? Han Yu was the first to answer. If I had to write it in a short time, I might not be able to write it. The other judges felt similarly. Their opinions were consistent. Not easy. The live room suddenly became lively again. This is a prompt. This is stacking buffs, right? 5 directions mashed together. The production team really doesn't want people to survive. Even Zhao Tongyue might not be safe. The boss will probably have a headache this time. After the recording ended, you went straight back to the hotel. Close the door and lie on the bed. The system's music library starts scrolling through my mind. There are actually quite a few songs that fit this theme. But if I'm really taking it to a competition, I can't just pick randomly. I have to choose the most suitable and competitive one. You closed your eyes and thought for a while. The system interface lit up accordingly. Keywords identifying matching works recommending. You scanned through them one by one. Finally, you had a decision. The next second, you suddenly sat up from the bed. You grabbed a pen and paper and started writing. It didn't take long. The general framework of the song was already there. Just then, the phone vibrated. It was a message from Shen Youchu. Fang Yuan. That Moonlight sounded great. Another message followed immediately. But that final prompt is just too difficult. Are you confident? It's so good. You glanced at the lyrics you just finished, and replied casually. Don't worry, it's almost done. No big deal. She replied quickly. That's good, get some rest and don't stay up too late. You put down the phone and took a quick shower in the bathroom. After coming out, you went over the draft one more time. Only then did you lie back in bed. Before long, you fell asleep. In your dream, you and Shen Youchu had your wedding. Over the next few days, you wandered around Hangzhou, not doing much productive work. But the recording date arrived quickly, as the first episode of Original Singer began. As usual, the order was drawn first. Zhao Tongyue was lucky and was the first to take the stage. You drew a spot toward the end, exactly 5th. This position wasn't a disadvantage. You didn't have to set the mood from the start, nor did you have to wait backstage until the end. Once recording started, Zhao Tongyue went up first. Her original piece this time was called Ideal City. Her approach was very steady. She commanded the stage well. She incorporated almost everything from the prompt. The scores from the 5 judges were all high, finally settling at 46 points. The following contestants went up one after another. The atmosphere didn't drop, but the results were clearly mediocre. One was even worse, getting only 30 points. On average, they barely hit the passing line. Soon, the host called your name. You stood up with the microphone and just stepped onto the stage. A system notification popped up. Stage environment confirmation complete. Current work, Mustang City. Status synchronization enabled. You glanced at it and closed it. After the lights dimmed, you stood still and looked ahead. Hello everyone, today's song is called Mustang City. The intro unfolded, neither rushed nor intense. After you started singing, the emotion of the song began to push outward bit by bit. It wasn't the kind of heavy emotion that hits you directly, but rather the feeling of being lonely and dazed. The feeling of gritting your teeth and pushing through, slowly filling everyone's heart. City, ideals, struggle, lost. The things required by the prompt were almost all sung into the melody. By the second half, there was almost no noise left in the venue. When the last note fell, there was a 2-second silence below. Then applause suddenly surged. On the judges' panel, Han Yu's eyes were red. On the other side, Mu Jiuli turned her face away, and raised her hand to wipe the corner of her eye. In the backstage resting area, Zhao Tonghua stared at the monitor. Her expression was much more serious than before. She already knew you were capable, but this song was even more powerful than she expected. After entering the review segment, Han Yu was the first to pick up the microphone. Fang Yuan, I really like this song Mustang City. It doesn't rely on technique to pile up emotion, but from the very beginning, it brings out that feeling of confusion and loneliness. And later, that unwillingness of young people in big cities. That awkwardness, that persistence in pushing forward. All of it came through. She paused, her tone very certain. The theme was executed perfectly. I give it 10 points. The host immediately passed the word to Lu Jincheng. Teacher Han gave a perfect score. Heavenly King Lu, what do you think? Lu Jincheng nodded. His response was very straightforward. After the prompt for the last episode came out, I privately tried writing in this direction. But to be honest, what I wrote wasn't as good as yours. So I won't hold back this point either. 10 points. I hope you can keep this up in the next round with him leading. The others gave high score.